morning, friends. Happy Monday. It's Monday again. I don't need my coffee sweeteners falling down behind the... Oh, come on, KJ. I'm starting it off with a bang here. I'm getting coffee everywhere. Good morning, Amory. Hi, Mallory. Look at that. Oh, look how creamy. Yummo. Are you, Mallory? This is my first cup of the day. I'm just finishing up my water here. Gotta have my water first. It's critical, right? It is interesting, isn't it, Tracy? All right. I hit go live before I was ready. Anybody surprised by that? Okay. August 15th. Jeremiah is imprisoned. Jeremiah 37:11 through 21. When Jeremiah, nope, doesn't even say that. When the Babylonian army left Jerusalem because of Pharaoh's approaching army, Jeremiah started to leave the city on his way to the territory of Benjamin, to claim his share of the property among his relatives there. But as he was walking through the Benjamin gate, a sentry arrested him and said, "You are defecting to the Babylonians." The sentry making the arrest was Arijah, son of Shelemiah, grandson of Hananiah. "That's not true," Jeremiah protested. "I had no intention of doing such a thing." Bassy. He's squeaking his toy. It is very distracting. "That's not true," Jeremiah protested. "I had no intention of doing any such thing." But Arijah wouldn't listen, and he took Jeremiah before the officials. They were furious with Jeremiah and had him flogged and imprisoned in the house of Jonathan, the secretary. Jonathan's house had been converted into a prison. Jeremiah was put into a dungeon cell where he remained for many days. Later, King Zedekiah secretly requested that Jeremiah come to the palace, where the king asked him, "Do you have any messages from the Lord?" "Yes, I do," said Jeremiah. "You will be defeated by the king of Babylon." Then Jeremiah asked the king, "What crime have I committed? What have I done against you, your attendants, or the people, that I should be imprisoned like this? Where are your prophets now who told you the king of Babylon would not attack you or this land? Listen, my lord the king, I beg you, don't send me back to the dungeon in the house of Jonathan the secretary, for I will die there." So King Zedekiah commanded that Jeremiah not be returned to the dungeon. Instead, he was imprisoned in the courtyard of the guard in the royal palace. The king also commanded that Jeremiah be given a loaf of fresh bread every day as long as there was any left in the city. So Jeremiah was put in the palace prison. Jeremiah in a cistern, Jeremiah 38:1 through 13. Now Shephatiah, son of Matan, Gedaliah, son of Pashur, Jehukal, son of Shelemiah, and Pashur, son of Malchijah, heard what Jeremiah had been telling the people. He had been saying, "This is what the Lord says, everyone who stays in Jerusalem will die from war, famine, and disease, but those who surrender to the Babylonians will live. Their reward will be life. They will live." Bassy. Bassy. Come here, buddy. The Lord also says, "The city of Jerusalem will certainly be handed over to the army of the king of Babylon who will capture it." So these officials went to the king and said, "Sir, this man must die. That kind of talk will undermine the morale of a few fighting men we have left, as well as that of all the people. This man is a traitor." King Zedekiah agreed. "All right," he said, "do as you like. I can't stop you." So the officials took Jeremiah from his cell and lowered him by ropes into an empty cistern in the prison yard. It belonged to Malchijah, a member of the royal family. There was no water in the cistern, but there was a thick layer of mud on the bottom, and Jeremiah sank down into it. But Ebed-Melech the Ethiopian, an important court official, heard that Jeremiah was in the cistern. At that time, The king was holding court at the Benjamin gate, so Ebed-melech rushed from the palace to speak with him. "My lord the king," he said, "these men have done a very evil thing in putting Jeremiah the prophet in the cistern. He will soon die of hunger, for almost all the bread in the city is gone." So the king told Ebed-melech, "Take 30 of my men with you, and pull Jeremiah out of the cistern before he dies." So Ebed-melech took the men with him and went to a room in the palace beneath the treasury, where he found some old rags and discarded clothing. He carried these to the cistern and lowered them to Jeremiah on a rope. Ebed-melech called down to Jeremiah, "Put these rags under your armpits to protect you from the ropes." Then, when Jeremiah was ready, they pulled him out. So Jeremiah was returned to the courtyard of the guard, the palace prison, where he remained. Zedekiah questions Jeremiah. Jeremiah 38:14-28. One day King Zedekiah sent for Jeremiah and had him brought to the third entrance of the Lord's temple. "I want to ask you something," the king said, "and don't try to hide the truth." Jeremiah said, "If I tell you the truth, you will kill me, and if I give you advice, you won't listen to me anyway." So King Zedekiah secretly promised him, "As surely as the Lord our Creator lives, I will not kill you or hand you over to the men who want you dead." Then Jeremiah said to Zedekiah, "This is what the Lord God of heaven's armies, the God of Israel, says, if you surrender to the Babylonian officers, you and your family will live, and the city will not be burned down. But if you refuse to surrender, you will not escape. This city will be handed over to the Babylonians, and they will burn it to the ground." "But I am afraid to surrender," the king said, "for the Babylonians may hand me over to the Judeans who have defected to them, and who knows what they will do to me." Jeremiah replied, "You won't be handed over to them if you choose to obey the Lord. Your life will be spared, and all will go well for you. But if you refuse to surrender, this is what the Lord has revealed to me. All the women left in your palace will be brought out and given to the officers of the Babylonian army. Then the women will taunt you, saying, 'What fine friends you have! They have betrayed and misled you. When your feet sank in the mud, they left you to your fate. All your wives and children will be led out to the Babylonians, and you will not escape. You will be seized by the king of Babylon, and this city will be burned down." Then Zedekiah said to Jeremiah, "Don't tell anyone you told me this, or you will die. My officials may hear that I spoke to you, and they may say, 'Tell us what you and the king were talking about.' If you don't tell us, we will kill you. If this happens, just tell them you begged me not to send you back to Jonathan's dungeon, for fear you would die there." Sure enough, it wasn't long before the king's officials came to Jeremiah and asked him why the king had called for him. But Jeremiah followed the king's instructions, and they left without finding out the truth. No one had overheard the conversation between Jeremiah and the king, and Jeremiah remained a prisoner in the courtyard of the guard until the day Jeremiah was captured. Ezekiel's ministry began in July 593 BC. Ezekiel was among those deported to Babylon when King Jehoiachin surrendered Jerusalem to the Babylonians in February 597 BC, 4.5 years before Ezekiel's first visions. Right, Jennifer? At least he's not biting me. All right. A vision of living beings, Ezekiel 1:1-28, 593 BC. On July 31st of my 30th year, while I was with the Judean exiles beside the Kebur River in Babylon, the heavens were opened, and I saw visions of God. This happened during the 5th year of King Jehoiachin's captivity. The Lord gave this message to Ezekiel, son of Buzi, a priest, beside the Kebur River in the land of the Babylonians, and he felt the hand of the Lord take hold of him. As I looked, I saw a great storm coming from the north, driving before it a huge cloud that flashed with lightning, and shone with brilliant light. There was fire inside the cloud, and in the middle of the fire glowed something like gleaming amber. From the center of the cloud came 4 living beings that looked human, except that each had 4 faces and 4 wings. Their legs were straight, and their feet had hooves like those of a calf, and shone like burnished bronze. Under each of their 4 wings I could see human hands. So each of the 4 beings had 4 faces and 4 wings. The wings of each living being touched the wings of the beings beside it. Each one moved straight forward in any direction without turning around. Each had a human face in the front, the face of a lion on the right side, the face of an ox on the left side, and the face of an eagle at the back. Each had 2 pairs of outstretched wings. One pair stretched out to touch the wings of the living beings on either side of it, and the other pair covered its body. They went in whatever direction the Spirit chose, and they moved straight forward in any direction without turning around. The living beings looked like bright coals of fire or brilliant torches, and lightning seemed to flash back and forth among them. And the living beings darted to and fro like flashes of lightning. As I looked at these beings, I saw 4 wheels touching the ground beside them. 1 wheel belonged to each. The wheels sparkled as if made of beryl. All 4 wheels looked alike and were made of the same. Each wheel had a second wheel turning crosswise within it. Are you trying to picture this in your head? It's a lot to imagine. The beings could move in any of the 4 directions they faced without turning as they moved. The rims of the 4 wheels were tall and frightening, and they were covered with eyes all around. When the living beings moved, the wheels moved with them. When they flew upward, the wheels went up too. The spirit of the living beings was in the wheels. So wherever the spirit went, the wheels and the living beings also went. When the beings moved, the wheels moved. When the beings stopped, the wheels stopped. When the beings flew upward, the wheels rose up, for the spirit of the living beings was in the wheels. Spread out above them was a surface like a sky, glittering like crystal. Beneath the surface, the wings of each living being stretched out to touch the other's wings, and each had 2 wings covering its body. As they flew, their wings sounded to me like waves crashing against the shore, or like the voice of the Almighty, or like a shouting of a mighty army. When they stopped, When they stopped, they let down their wings. As they stood with wings lowered, a voice spoke from beyond the crystal surface above them. Above this surface was something that looked like a throne made of blue lapis lazuli, and on the throne, high above, was a figure whose appearance resembled a man. From what appeared to be his waist up, he looked like a gleaming amber flickering like a fire, and from his waist down he looked like a burning flame shining with splendor. All around him was a glowing halo, like a rainbow shining in the clouds on a rainy day. This is what the glory of the Lord looked like to me. When I saw it, I fell face down on the ground, and I heard someone's voice speaking to me. Ezekiel's call and commission, Ezekiel 2:1-3:15. "Stand up, Son of Man," said the voice. "I want to speak with you." The Spirit came into me as he spoke, and he set me on my feet. I listened carefully to his words. "Son of man," he said, "I am sending you to the nation of Israel, a rebellious nation that has rebelled against me. They and their ancestors have been rebelling against me to this very day. They are a stubborn and hard-hearted people, but I am sending you to say to them, 'This is what the sovereign Lord says.' And whether they listen or refuse to listen, for remember, they are rebels, at least they will know they have had a prophet among them. Son of man, do not fear them or their words. Don't be afraid, even though their threats surround you like nettles and briars and stinging scorpions. Do not be dismayed by their dark scowls, even though they are rebels. You must give them my messages, whether they listen or not. But they won't listen, for they are completely rebellious. Son of man, listen to what I say to you. Do not join them in their rebellion. Open your mouth and eat what I give you." Then I looked, and I saw a hand reaching out to me. It held a scroll, which he unrolled, and I saw that on both sides were covered with funeral songs, words of sorrow, and pronouncements of doom. The voice said to me, "Son of man, eat what I am giving you. Eat this scroll. Then go and give its message to the people of Israel." So I opened my mouth, and he fed me the scroll. "Fill your stomach with this," he said, and when I ate it, it tasted as sweet as honey in my mouth. Then he said, "Son of man, go to the people of Israel and give them my messages. I am not sending you to a foreign people whose language you cannot understand. No, I am sending you to the people with strange and difficult speech. I'm not sending you to people with strange and difficult speech. If I did, they would, hold on. Go back. I am not sending you to a foreign people whose language you cannot understand. No, I am not sending you to people with strange and difficult speech. If I did, they would listen. But the people of Israel won't listen to you any more than they listen to me, for the whole lot of them are hard-hearted and stubborn. But look, I have made you as obstinate and hard-hearted as they are. I have made your forehead as hard as the hardest rock. So don't be afraid of them or fear their angry looks, even though they are rebels." Then he added, "Son of man, let all my words sink deep into your own heart first. Listen to them carefully for yourself. Then go to your people in exile and say to them, 'This is what the sovereign Lord says. Do this whether they listen to you or not.'" Then the Spirit lifted me up, and I heard a loud rumbling sound behind me. May the glory of the Lord be praised in this place. It was the sound of the wings of the living beings as they brushed against each other and the rumbling of their wheels beneath them. The Spirit lifted me up and took me away. I went in bitterness and turmoil, but the Lord's hold on me was strong. Then I came to the colony of the Judean exiles in Tel Aviv, beside the Kibar River. I was overwhelmed and sat among them for 7 days. Okay. Let's do I'm That Girl. I'm going to stop my microwave from beeping so it's not beeping the whole time. Okay. Oh. Okay, we are in I'm That Girl. We are on day 102. We are in chapter 42, page 321. Could you make it a little more racket, Sebastian? He's the loudest dog this morning between his bones and his squeaky toys and... Okay. I don't think I'm going to enjoy this chapter very much. I think it's about exercise. I'm that girl who moves for life. Bassie, come here. From Serene. The desire to move, to stretch, to search out and investigate all possible dimensions of movement is an instinctual ambition from before we were even liberated from the womb. Even before a pregnant mama detects those first tiny butterfly kicks, her little athlete has been kickboxing to the motivational beat of her heart. The celebration of dance, the privilege to walk, the exploration of reach, the freedom to run and jump and leap. Wow, and yay for our brilliant bodies designed for all of this. We have 650 or so skeletal muscles in the human body. They are actually billions more smooth muscles that are part of the autonomic nervous system, responsible for squishing and squeezing stuff from one place to another. That's a lot to keep greased and running well. We don't want any of these awesome God-given parts to get all rusty and crusty from not taking good care of his prezzies down under for presents. They're gifted to us to keep us agile and free. What we don't use, we're going to lose. We've all heard that, right? But is there a way to keep a healthy attitude toward movement that doesn't land us in sad camp? You know what that camp is like. We drag ourselves into exercise because we know we have to, but really it feels like a yucky, no fun part of our to-do list. And due to this sadness of sad camp, we usually give up on it because nobody wants to be sad for long. Or if not sad, then there are two other extremes, burned out from overdoing it or dried up from not doing it at all. I'd like to nominate a better way to look at movement. I put forward love of movement for your consideration, and hopefully by the end of this little light-hearted life changer, I'll get plenty of you saying A for it with me. Maybe you don't feel like you love it now. Those feelings will come later. For now, you'll have to just wear the identity until it feels true. For the sake of sustainable strength and vitality that lasts our entire journey on this earth, I think this love of movement mindset is worth searching out and wearing. Before we get more into how to put on this love of movement, let's talk about why we need to love it. Some of this you know already, but reminder sessions are good, and some of it might be new to you. All this modern talk of getting all ed up and over the hill as we age is not biblical, nor is it found in cultures of the world that keep actively moving and don't grow up and hit a point where they somehow feel excused from this vital part of life. It's actually possible to experience lasting health and fitness well into the most later stages of life. Joshua 14:11 proves my point. As yet I am as strong this day as I was the day that Moses sent me. Just as my strength was then, so now is my strength for war, both for going out and for coming in. Caleb was 85 when he said this. Getting stiff and starchy isn't inevitable. He said strength for war because he wanted to take the high hill country that was his inheritance and promise from the Lord. The Anakites occupied the territory and were mighty men, descendants of giants. Their cities were large and fortified, and yet here's this 85-year-old man chomping at the bit for war. He wasn't leaving it to the 18-year-olds with newly blooming biceps. He reckoned his tried and tested muscles were perfectly adequate to enter the fight and were powered by the overarching strength of the Lord. The story goes that Caleb was victorious and that Hebron has belonged to his descendants ever since. This is a really long section, so I'll read a little bit more. Studies show older adults who are physically active sustain a better quality of life and have lower risk of dying. Regular exercise fights disease and drastically slows the rate of muscle depletion as you age. Research conducted in 2007, published in an article entitled Resistance Exercise Reverses Aging in Human Skeletal Muscles, used candidates who were an average of 70 years of age. The seniors engaged in resistance training and closed the strength gap between themselves and the group 40 years younger by a 36% in a mere 6-month study. Strength training turns back the clock, literally. Okay, I think I'm going to stop there, actually. It looks like a good stopping point. I need a pen. Hold on, it's been a weird devotion this morning. I'm going to stop right here. I need to mark it so I know where I left off. Okay. All right, guys. Thanks for joining me this morning. I don't want to talk about exercise any longer than I need to. I'm just kidding. I'm the girl who loves to move. All right, guys. Thanks for joining me this morning for devotions. I'll be going live for breakfast in just a few minutes. I think I'm going to show you how easy it is to slap together instant cheese sauce from Trim Healthy Future. It's so stinking easy, and it's so yummy on so many things. I'm going to show you just how easy it is if I can find cauliflower rice in my freezer downstairs. So that's a big if. What's the face? You giving me the face for? Just turned around and gave me the stink eye. Literally. He's like, excuse me. I don't know. He's got the Mondays apparently. All right, guys, I will see you back tomorrow morning for more devotions, and hopefully I'll see you in just a few minutes live for a little cheese sauce to have later in my day today. All right, I love you guys. Have a great day.